One of the most important objectives of the Allied landings in Normandy was to secure as quickly as possible a deep-water port, as bringing in all the men, vehicles and supplies over the invasion beaches needed to sustain the massive Allied armies was not a long-term solution. The obvious target was the city of Cherbourg, France's third largest port on the end of the Cotentin Peninsula. On D-Day itself, the 6th of June 1944, paratroopers of the US 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions landed inland from Utah Beach, seizing the base of the Cotentin Peninsula.
The midnight skies over Normandy are suddenly alive with the dark shapes of men who will bring the first fires of D-Day to Fortress Europe.
The first objective was to link the American, British and Canadian beaches into one perimeter. Once this was done, the US 7th Corps, under Major General Lightning Joe Collins, struck westwards to seal off the peninsula from the rest of France. The Germans in the area had already taken heavy casualties, battling US paratroopers, and were weakened and disorganized.
The jump had scattered our men from hell to breakfast, and were outnumbered 4-1, even after our glidermen joined us. It was a tight spot, but we'd asked for it. That's why we were troopers. We started off by grabbing Saint-Mary-Glisse, key point in the German defenses, and the first town in France to be liberated. It was apple blossom time in Normandy, but the only posies Jerry was throwing was mortar and machine gun fire. We had to bleed for every orchard, every field, every hedgerow. For 33 days we fought without relief and without reinforcement.
Little armour was available, as most of the panzer divisions were trying to hold the British-Canadian beachhead further east in check, as the Germans felt General Montgomery's 21st Army Group to be the bigger threat. The Germans also received few infantry reinforcements. On the 17th of June, Hitler gave orders that a new defensive perimeter be established right across the peninsula below Cherbourg, an illogical move, as pointed out by Field Marshal Erwin Rommel. Nonetheless, this was attempted. The next day, the US 9th Infantry Division reached the west coast, cutting off the Cotentin Peninsula and isolating Cherbourg. The Americans were determined to capture the city, defended by about 21,000 Germans under the command of Generalleutnant Karl Wilhelm von Schlieben. His forces were not crack troops, but the remnants of static infantry divisions designed only for defense and without many vehicles. The rest of the troops were stragglers from other shattered divisions, naval personnel and Luftwaffe flak crews. Cherbourg was well defended as an integral part of the Atlantic Wall. On this contemporary map, the blue shaded lines represent the American front line, therefore the German front line, at the beginning of the battle. On the landward side, 3 ridges leading to the port had bunkers and trench systems, as well as some old French forts. The land defences stretched between 4 to 6 miles from the port. The defence consisted of 4 infantry regiments. The west was defended by Kampfgruppe Müller, consisting of remnants of the 243rd Infantry Division. Southwest was Kampfgruppe Keil, the 919th Regiment. The 739th Regiment formed Kampfgruppe Köln, guarding the southeast. The eastern side of the city was the responsibility of Kampfgruppe Rohrbach, and consisted of the 729th Regiment. Of the 21,000 troops at von Schlieben's disposal, about 1/5 were Poles or Soviets. Schlieben knew that he could not hold Cherbourg indefinitely, but he was also determined not to surrender without a hell of a fight. He knew the importance of Cherbourg to Allied plans and would deny the port to the enemy for as long as he could. Hitler sent him a message reminding the general that it was his duty to defend the last bunker and leave the enemy not a harbour but a field of ruins. The US 7th Corps pushed north against the German outer defences. The 19th of June, the 4th, 9th and 79th Divisions made a reconnaissance in force, causing the Germans to abandon their positions south of Cherbourg at Valognes, 10 miles from the harbour, and from Montebourg, 4 miles from the port. By day's end, the 9th Division reached the city's outer defences. On the 20th, the 4th Division also advanced up to the outer defences. In the centre, the 79th Division pushed north. Now came hard fighting. On the 20th of June, American infantry regiments attempted to capture 2 villages between the city and the outer defences. They ran into heavy German artillery fire, with all attacks failing. General Collins now prepared to launch his main attack on Cherbourg. On the night of the 21st of June, the American commander sent a message to von Schlieben calling on him to surrender. The request was dismissed. The main US assault opened on the 22nd of June with bomb and rocket attacks from RAF Typhoons and Mustangs, followed by US AAF aircraft dropping in total 1,100 tons of ordnance on German positions. The plan was for the 9th Division to reach Octeville, southwest of Cherbourg, while the 79th captured Fort du Roule, south of the city. German resistance was extremely fierce. The 9th ended the day short of its objectives. And the 79th knocked out the German bunkers at Les Chevaines, but the German flak guns prevented any further advance. It was a case of slowly destroying bunkers and pillboxes, using aircraft, artillery, grenades and satchel charges. By the 23rd, the GIs had reached Cherbourg's main defence. The 9th Infantry Division captured Flottmanville and a nearby ridge. The 79th flanked west. To the right, the 4th Infantry Division took high ground southeast of the port. The Germans had received limited supply drops from Luftwaffe Junkers Ju-52s flying at night, including a batch of Iron Crosses. On the 24th of June, General von Schlieben awarded some of these medals to those soldiers commended for gallantry. But the US push continued. The 79th Division was stopped by heavy fire from Octeville, and the 4th took the village of Tourlaville. The next day, the Allied navies assisted the US drive by making a heavy bombardment of Cherbourg using battleships, cruisers and destroyers. The 9th Division captured Octeville and broke into Cherbourg's western suburbs, reaching the beach west of the city. The 79th Division tackled the huge Fort du Roule, protecting the harbour. Its big guns faced the sea, but its landward defences were also formidable. At the end of the day, the GIs had seized the fort's upper floors, but the lower floors remained in German hands. On the right, the 4th Division took the coastal battery near Tourlaville and started to push west into Cherbourg.
Inside Cherbourg, General von Schlieben had ordered his men to resist to the death. Typically, these orders were issued from the safety of a dugout 30 feet below the ground. American infantry, man for man, were more than a match for the defenders as they fought their way forward street by street. One after the other, enemy strong points yielded surrendering Nazis.
Also on the 25th of June, General von Schlieben sent a radio message to Hitler asking for permission to surrender. This was denied. The 26th of June was the day when major breakthroughs occurred. The 4th Division's 22nd Infantry Regiment captured Maupertuis airfield, then seized Batterie Hamburg, east of Cherbourg, capturing 4 240mm guns and 940 naval personnel. The 79th Division managed to capture the lower levels of Fort du Roule, and US troops reached the port itself. The 26th of June also saw the British join the fight, launching a secret operation to capture the German naval headquarters to snatch Enigma machines and code books. Number 30 Assault Unit hit the Villa Maurice, capturing 20 German officers and 500 men. After destroying his papers and codebooks, General von Schlieben surrendered along with 800 of his men at his command bunker at Saint-Sauveur.
Von Schlieben, the Nazi commander, and Admiral Hennecker, in command of naval defenses, came out of their deep shelter to save their Nazi necks. But the troops had been told to fight on hopelessly to the death. It was the privilege of Major General Collins of the United States Army to receive von Schlieben's capitulation, one of the most significant since the Allied Western Campaign began. In bringing this Nazi militarist and his troops to their knees, the Americans have won the commendation of the free world.
But Schlieben refused to order a general surrender. The arsenal remained in German hands, but the 400 defenders gave up on the 27th of June after its commander, Generalmajor Sattler, requested a face-saving mock attack with the Americans. US tanks fired a few star shells at the arsenal, and Sattler and his men duly surrendered, honour satisfied. The last German pockets in the harbour gave up on the 29th of June after heavy tank and aircraft bombardments. But some Germans still held out. 6,000 remained entrenched in positions at Cap de la Hague, only surrendering on the 30th of June. The naval commander in Cherbourg, Konter-Admiral Walter Hennecker, had ensured that Cherbourg port was thoroughly wrecked to prevent its use by the enemy. Block ships had been sunk in the harbour, and there were mines everywhere, later dealt with by British engineers. Cherbourg wasn't properly open again until mid-August 1944. In fact, Hitler was so pleased with Admiral Hennecker's destruction that the admiral, now a prisoner of war, was awarded the Knight's Cross. General von Schlieben was held as a prisoner in England until October 1947 and died in Gießen, Germany in 1964, aged 69. Admiral Hennecker died in 1984 at Bad Lippspringe, aged 85. The butcher's bill for the Battle of Cherbourg was 22,000 Americans killed, missing or wounded, while the Germans lost up to 8,000 troops killed. Many thanks for watching. I hope you found that interesting, and please do subscribe and share. Also visit my new audiobook channel, War Stories with Mark Felton, and you can also help to support both of my channels at PayPal and Patreon, details in the description box below.